Sometimes your entire world can change in a single moment, and Tia Carrere's world became more excellent all because of one trip to a local grocery store, where the parents of a man who was producing a movie saw her and told her about this movie their son was shooting. This would lead Tia Carrere to land a role in the film Aloha Summer. She says she was super nervous because she had never acted before and hadn't even thought of that as an option in her life. You know, becoming a movie star. But she did it. Miss Carrere had always wanted to grow up to be a professional singer, and she did that too. After rocking everyone's world in the Wayne's World Cinematic Universe film franchise, Tia Carrere became a household name in the early 90s, while also standing toe-to-toe with some of the biggest names in the business. But after a few bad turns at the box office, it seemed she was destined for the direct-to-video bin. And that would lead her to a steady career of TV appearances that never seemed to match the immense talent she displayed when she first started. But with 2 Grammy wins to her name and a Disney live-action remake that might not be horrible in the pipeline, it's time to ask that ever-important question. What the f*** happened to Tia Carrere?
I assume you're here to do business?
But to truly understand what the f*** happened to Tia Carrere, we must begin at the beginning of the beginning began when she was born on her birthday, 1967, Hawaii. Tia Carrere is not her birth name. She changed it, you know, for a movie career because her name is Hawaiian and it's really hard to pronounce, and I'm not gonna try. Tia Carrere would move to Los Angeles at the age of 17 and began dating a man who acted as her manager. This man was a few decades her senior, and although landing Tia some gigs on shows like Star Search, The A-Team, MacGyver, and General Hospital, he would end up stealing all of her money and leaving Tia Carrere homeless. Luckily, she had a modeling agent who let her crash at their place, and Tia Carrere says that she never thought about going home, as she came out to LA with one goal in mind. There was never a plan B. Tia would continue to land small parts on TV shows like Friday the 13th, The Series, Quantum Leap, Married with Children, and Tales from the Crypt, while also landing roles in films like Showdown at Little Tokyo and Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man. She was landing auditions for big roles, including a chance to play David Hasselhoff's girlfriend on Baywatch. But then she was presented with a new script that featured a strong female character that needed to have great style, but more importantly, could sing. And even more importantly than that, could rock and roll. For Tia, it was the role of a lifetime that she knew she could nail. That role was of Cassandra Wong in the big screen adaptation of the hit Saturday Night Live sketch Wayne's World, which would go on to be the highest grossing SNL movie of all time, pulling in over $180 million off a $20 million budget, and of course making us feel like we were all not worthy of Tia Carrere's talents. And because of her amazing performance in Wayne's World, she would be nominated for Most Desirable Female at the MTV Movie Awards! From there, Tia Carrere became the it girl of the early 90s. She wasn't just another pretty face on the big screen, she was a multi-talented performer with screen presence that could stand up against the biggest stars. And she did just that by starring opposite Sean Connery and Wesley Snipes in the $107 million grossing Rising Sun in 1993, before returning to her star-making role in Wayne's World 2. Although this one did not light up the box office like the first one, earning $72 million against a $40 million budget, critics and audiences alike agreed that Tia stole every scene she was in, while the cast and crew of Wayne's World would reunite virtually during the pandemic when they shut the f fucking world down for the Josh Gad-hosted Reunited Apart, where Tia would show that after all these years, she still got that star power. And it would be that star power that would land her one of her biggest roles, when she would appear opposite Arnold Schwarzenegger in the James Cameron-directed True Lies, a frickin' action movie masterpiece, where Tia would play a worthy antagonist with equal parts beauty and crazy. And her frickin' fight scene with Jamie Lee Curtis inside that limousine, it's frickin' brutal. Her performance in True Lies showed just how much range this actress had. She was a fascinating villain, truly unforgettable, which in large part is due to her dance sequence with Arnold that would nab the pair a Best Dance Sequence nomination at the MTV Movie Awards. In 1993, Tia Carrere would fulfill her lifelong dream by releasing her debut album, titled Dream! The album would garner some solid reviews, and would even go platinum in the Philippines, with her voice appearing over the final credits of Batman Mask of the Phantasm as she sang the song, I Never Even Told You. There was no denying that Tia had a knack for comedy, and in the early 90s there was kind of no bigger comedy star than Pauly Shore. And if you don't believe us, check out our video, What the F Happened to Pauly Shore, right here somewhere on YouTube, or Rumble, or wherever you watch these things. So it would be no surprise that Tia Carrere signed the dotted line to be the female lead in the next Pauly Shore film, titled Jury Duty, in 1995. The only problem was that this was one of Pauly Shore's films that started to dip at the box office, as Jury Duty could only manage $17 million off a $21 million budget. From there, the remainder of the 90s turned into a bunch of direct-to-video titles, like The Immortals, for which she was also associate producer, Hostile Intentions, Hollow Point, Natural Enemy, Top of the World, Scar City, 20 Dates, while also showing up in theaters a few times in films like Cole the Conqueror, which was a massive dud, only generating $6.1 million, and the parody film High School High, which garnered $21 million and is actually funny. She would close out the 90s by shedding her wholesome image for a scandalous film called My Teacher's Wife. She plays my teacher's wife. On TV, Tia would appear in shows like Murder 1 and Veronica's Closet before landing the lead role in the series Relic Hunter, which would run for 3 seasons and nab her an Alma Award nomination for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Syndicated Drama Series, before discovering the world of voice acting, when she landed gigs on Happily Ever After, Fairy Tales for Every Child, and Hercules, which would make way for her entry into the world of Disney animated films, with 2002's Lilo and Stitch, where she would voice Lilo's older sister and legal guardian, a role that she would reprise several times over the years in projects such as the direct-to-video sequel Stitch the Movie, and Lilo and Stitch the Series, and Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch Has a Glitch, and Leroy and Stitch. So many Stitches up in here. From the early 2000s on, Carrere would appear in a ton of limited or direct-to-video titles, such as Back in the Day, Dark Honeymoon, Wild Cherry, Heartbreakers, You May Not Kiss the Bride, among others, while her TV career has been filled with noteworthy projects like The OC, Nip Tuck, CSI Miami, Hawaii 5-0, which is good because she's Hawaiian, and Family Guy. Also a show called Blue Bloods, with reoccurring roles on shows like In Plain Sight, and showing off her pitch-perfect comedic skills as Richard Lewis's girlfriend on Curb Your Enthusiasm, while also lending her talented vocals to the video games Saints Row and Saints Row 4. She would also have the distinct pleasure, I guess you would call it, of being fired by a future president of the United States when she was fired in the 5th week of the 5th season on Celebrity Apprentice. Trump was like, Tia, you're fired. She could also be seen in the 2nd season of Dancing with the Stars. She was one of the stars. Of course, one area where Tia Carrere has truly shined is her music. Despite her first album, 1993's Dream, not being a big hit in the States, her passion for music never left. And after a 14-year break, Tia Carrere would return with her Hawaiian-inspired album, Hawaiiana, which would land Tia her first ever Grammy nomination for Best Hawaiian Music Album. She would follow that up a year later with the album Ikina, which would see her become a Grammy-winning artist when she won in that same category, Best Hawaiian Music Album. She would follow that pattern by releasing the 2009 album Hinani, which would be nominated for Best Hawaiian Music Album in 2009, and then go on to win the Grammy the following year for her album Hunaki Aloha, Best Hawaiian Music Album. After toiling away in films that never really garnered much of a response, like Showdown in Manila and the animated Legend of the Hawaiian, Tia would land a series regular role on the RuPaul-created Netflix series AJ and the Queen, playing a scene-stealing villain that Tia says she loves to play because she gets to chew the scenery while performing. Unfortunately, this series was cancelled after just a single season, though. She would return to theaters in 2022 with the comedy Easter Sunday, and earlier this year, in 2023, she would appear in an episode of NCIS Los Angeles, so there's that! And yeah, that is where we find Miss Carrere today, an actress who has had an over 30-year career in the business. And yeah, that's something to be proud of. Seeing her pop up on your screen is like seeing an old friend who's prettier than you. She just demands respect in every role, but she's also, kind of approachable too, while just being, a badass. But of course, music is where she has always felt most comfortable, and that is where you can still find her today, up on the stage, singing her now iconic Hawaiian tunes, with her beautiful, beautiful voice. And despite having big theatrical hits over the years, we may have seen nothing yet, because she is set to star in a live-action version of Lilo and Stitch. Maybe, just maybe, it won't suck. And maybe, just maybe, it'll put her back on the A-list again, but you know what? She doesn't really need to, because she left her mark. She proved herself in both the art of cinema and music. And I guess she's a model too, right? So yeah, for those reasons and so many more, there is no reason to give a f*** about what the f*** happened to Tia Carrere, because she's doing just fine. Doing excellent, I guess you could say.